Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and the iPhone XR has been out for quite some time now and was replaced more recently with the iPhone 11. And so I wanted to help you decide, should you still pick up an iPhone XR in 2020? And so a lot of people were saying the iPhone XR, if you're really into technology, is not the phone for you because of its specs and display and all of those things. But it actually was the best-selling phone in 2019, according to some information that's out there, that says that Apple sold about 46.3 million of these phones, making it the best-selling phone, period, in all of 2019. And so, despite what people into specs and numbers are all about, the phone really catered to the people looking for a less expensive iPhone than the iPhone XS and XS Max, and also brought what most people really want in an iPhone. So we'll talk about a few things such as cost and durability and the display and some other things as well. And so the first thing is, of course, the cost is a huge factor in why people buy iPhones and the specific iPhones that they actually buy. So the first thing is this phone was dropped in price to $599 and goes up to $649, and that's if you get it new. Now, if you're buying it from Apple, that's what you'll pay, but if you get it elsewhere or you get it refurbished or used secondhand, you could pay significantly less for this phone than you could get it new for, and that could be a really great deal if you could get it around $300 to $400. So it's pretty good, and I've seen it at carriers for free with specific trade-ins, so it's pretty good at this point. And that was last year, and they continue to offer more deals this year. Now, of course, you have all the colors. This is the product red version, and then you have a couple other colors such as yellow, blue, black, white. And a lot of people really like that, and they'll just put it in a clear Apple case like this one so you can see the color all the time. And so along with the price and the color availability, people just gravitated towards this phone. And so a lot of people were saying this wasn't a good phone because of its display, but I would actually argue that because it is a 6.1-inch display with 1792 by 828 pixel resolution with 326 pixels per inch. And people say, well, that's close to a 720p display, but technically it's closer to a 1080p display. And the reality is people get caught up in the numbers as opposed to the value they should be looking at, which is the pixel density. Because this is an LCD display, the pixel density and the pixel arrangement really doesn't require as many pixels. So, for example, people praise the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus displays when they came out, but the iPhone 8 has the exact same pixel density as the iPhone XR, and people love this display. The same thing goes for the iPad Pro, which actually has a lower pixel density, and people say it's an amazing display. If you realize the important thing is pixel density as opposed to actual resolution numbers, it works fine, and it's a great display. You cannot see the pixels, and in fact, I've said this many times before. I've put this side by side with an iPhone XS Max as well as iPhone 11, and people just cannot see the difference other than saturation levels that are higher or deeper blacks that are on OLED displays. So if you have an iPhone 11 Pro or 11 Pro Max, for example, and you go into settings, and then we turn on dark mode, you can see that the difference you'll see actually is in the blacks, because on an LCD, the backlight is always on, but on an OLED display that I have in my right hand, where it's black, the pixels are actually turned off. So that's also some battery savings and things like that, but also it definitely has deeper blacks. So you can see these side by side, but honestly, if these were hidden as to which displays they were, I bet 99% of people could not tell the difference. I've shown people that are photographers that do video for a living, and the only area where they noticed any difference at all was in the corners, where actually Apple takes the pixels and shrinks them and changes them so the corner is rounded. So otherwise, other than that, it's great. And you can still watch 1080p YouTube videos. You still have that resolution option. Skip that there. You still have that resolution option because the display is closer to 1080p. So here's my iOS 13.4 beta 3 video. And if we go to resolution options, you'll see you have 1080p up to 1080p 60. So there's no issues there. You're still going to be able to enjoy that content without a problem. And then the next thing with the iPhone XR that it was known for is battery life. And in fact, battery life can be really phenomenal on this phone. Now, technically, the iPhone 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max have much bigger batteries and will last longer, but still people are finding that the battery in the iPhone 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max don't match the iPhone XR depending on how you use it. And so here's a couple screenshots from Joe that sent these pictures along that you can see his usage is fantastic. Depending on the day, he was getting 9 to 12 hours about of screen on time, with about 1 to 15 minutes of screen off time. So the battery is phenomenal in these devices, and that's paired with the processor, which really has no slowdowns whatsoever compared to even modern phones. So you're going to find everything super fast. When you go into things like music, it's just going to load. So if we go into a game such as Minecraft and just load it for the first time on this device, it will load plenty fast. So you'll see that it will load. We'll give it just a moment. And for the first time, it does take a little bit longer than normal. But there we go. We can confirm. We'll skip, go into play, and you'll see everything's just super responsive. So we'll hit create, and we're going to be creating a world in just a moment. There we go. And it should load fast. And it loads fine on other devices, but it's still incredibly fast on this device. So when it comes to playing games, whether it be Minecraft or Fortnite or PUBG or Call of Duty or any of those, it will play them without a problem. And you'll also have good audio because the speakers are really good on this. So if I go back to my video here and hit play, it has stereo speakers, and you can hear from both the top and the bottom. So if I turn it up, beta testers, it usually comes out the same day, or lately it's been the next day. So beta 2 actually, the audio goes nice and loud, so if you want to use it for music or just leave video playing in the background, it's no issue whatsoever. And so there's really no problems there. And then of course the camera is another reason to actually take a look at this phone. And so the camera records in 4K up to 60 frames per second. And I've used this camera in different videos when I'm filming outside to record iOS update videos. I've had no issues with it. And in fact, some people have said that it looks phenomenal and have asked me which camera is it actually recorded on. Because you'll see this says 4K 30. Unfortunately, you can't tap in this particular device to change that. But if we go back to camera here, go down to camera, we can change the frame right here, and we have 4K 60 frames per second. So we have that option to record at that high frame rate. 4K 30 will look a little bit better because it's using the neural engine to make the video a little bit nicer. And so if you're recording video of an iPhone, for example, the video records fast, it's great. And when I'm outside recording with this, many people have said this footage looks better than maybe the cinema camera that I'm using now, which is a Canon C200. So you can get a pretty high quality camera as long as you have good lighting with this particular device. Now the iPhone XR is not as good when it comes to the forward facing camera, and while it's okay, it's nowhere near as good as say the iPhone 11, which has a better camera in the front. This is a lower megapixel camera, which looks fine for most things, but it doesn't have the 12 megapixel camera of say the iPhone 11. So it's not going to look as good as this, for example. So just keep that in mind. If you're looking for the best forward facing camera, you'll want to go with the newer phone. And then finally, if you were going to get the higher end version of the iPhone XR, I would say spend the extra $50 and get the iPhone 11. You'll get the faster processor, a better forward facing camera, an additional rear facing camera, and a couple other color options as well, and a little bit better battery life according to Apple. You should get another hour or so out of this just due to the processor in it. So the iPhone XR, yes, you should still pick one up today if you're looking for a phone. You've got wireless charging, you've got fast charging ability as well, great speakers, great camera, a good display. You don't have 3D touch. You have haptic touch, but everything is haptic touch, including the 11 Pro line as well. So in general, you have no issues as far as the way it works, the usability, and you'll get updates. You'll definitely get iOS 14, and Apple usually updates them for 5 years. So you should be good to go up to, say, iOS 18 or so, maybe even further. It just depends what Apple does. Now, another thing you get with the XR is Face ID. Aside with that forward-facing camera, of course, you've got the unlock. So you get Animoji and Memoji, but you can unlock the phone with Face ID. It's fast. So if you really like the idea of Face ID, it is fast and secure, unless you have a twin, for example, that could unlock your phone that looks similar. Otherwise, it's more secure than Touch ID, and I think it's a great option. In fact, I picked one up recently for family members over the iPhone 11 because they didn't care so much about specs, but rather wanted something newer than their iPhone 6 or 6Ss. So I highly recommend this. over anything else as far as budget iPhones, but also you've got the advantages of a great camera and just it being less expensive to repair as well as newer phones. So there's a lot of advantages. Of course, if you really want that extra camera and you want a better front-facing camera, there's the iPhone 11 or 11 Pro line, but you'll save a lot of money going with the XR, and I definitely recommend it in 2020. But let me know what you think about it in the comments below. If you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, of course, I'll link it in the description as I always do. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.